Hey folks, David Stewart here. Let's talk a little bit about inertia in the digital age. What I'm talking about here in the 21st century is the resistance of customers towards moving away from whatever platform they happen to be on, an inertia. There has to be a significant push for them to want to leave, for example, Amazon. So when you look at total ebook sales, Amazon is upwards of 90%. I think closer to 95%. If I look at my sales, it's more like 99% of my sales come through Amazon, with all the other competitors, the many other platforms combined, earning a scant 1 to 5% of the revenue of Amazon. Why is it that more people aren't just exploring some alternatives to Amazon? Why are so many people sticking with Amazon despite the fact that it's difficult to navigate categories? Categories are stuffed with books that don't belong in those categories. It's hard to figure out if books are of a high quality. You don't find books that you want to find. It's difficult to sort through the mess because of keyword abuse. And then, of course, you have ads floating up every single corner of any kind of Amazon page, making it difficult to find a book that is legitimately highly ranked and relevant for you. So why aren't more people going off of Amazon? Why do I think that the market's going to contract? It has to do with inertia. When you've been buying ebooks on Amazon for a long time, you have to have a significant push to get you to move away from that, right? There's objects at rest tend to stay at rest. So if you have your whole catalog is on Amazon and you've bought hundreds of ebooks on Amazon, that means every time you get a new phone, every time you get a new device, you have this extensive library of all your ebooks, and you can pull ebooks from that library and not have to worry about really much else. You can download whatever ebooks aren't on your device, whichever ones you want to read. You want to go back and read a book you've read before, you can do that. It's very convenient to stay on the Amazon platform. If you were to move away to another platform, a competitor's platform, whether it was Barnes & Noble or Kobo or something else, you're moving to a competitor's platform, it becomes harder to access all of the investment that you've put in to the Amazon platform. So if you buy a different e-reader, for example, if you're used to buying Kindle devices and you buy some other competitor's brand of ebook, it now becomes a little bit more difficult to put ebooks on your device. The ones that you get from Amazon are not formatted right. You have to reformat them using a program, put them on the new reader. It just becomes a hassle. So rather than dealing with the hassle, people will deal with the hassle of the thing that they know. It's like the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. So they'll usually pick the devil you know. I see the same thing with Apple products, iPhones and iOS products. It's really hard to get people to switch over, and I made the switch. I dropped Apple. I had an original iPhone that I used for a long time, and then I had an iPhone 5. And the reason that I went over to an Android device was actually because Apple dropped the headphone jack. To me, that was like a line in the sand. If I can't plug a normal headphone interface that's existed for 100 years or whatever, however long we've had the headphone interface, if I can't just plug a normal universal audio interface into your device without needing a bunch of dumb adapters or having to buy a Bluetooth headset, it's such an anti-consumer move. That was like the line in the sand. I was willing to abandon all of the apps that I had purchased, and I had purchased a lot of apps on the iOS platform. Now there's lots of free apps and stuff, but once you put money into it, that's like an investment. And for me to switch to Android means I won't have access to like the lute tuning app I used. I won't have access to the metronomes apps that I bought, the games that I bought. I won't have access to all of these apps that I spent money on. All of a sudden I have to abandon those because my daily use product is not going to use those apps anymore. So I think a lot of people will just continue buying Apple products because they don't want to lose that investment. And kind of what put me over the edge is like, well, I could spend money and have a worse product once this phone wears out, because at that point, my phone had basically worn out. It had gotten so far behind everything else that I really needed to buy a new device. Or I can just look at buying the new device as part of, the loss of investment as part of the expense of buying the new device. That it's just, it's a loss at that point. And that kind of pushed me over the edge and made me switch. Android at least gives me some options. So even though, I have a Pixel phone, and even though the Pixel phone, the new ones, don't have a headphone jack, I don't have to buy a product from Google to run something on an Android OS. I can buy something from Samsung or HTC or all of the other competitors. So it's still advantageous for me to be away from Apple. But I know people that they complain that they have to have an adapter for their iPhone, or I know people that have chosen to buy Bluetooth headsets because their iPhone didn't have a headphone jack, which means that they were just doing exactly what Apple wanted them to do. But that inertia keeps people stuck on that one platform. Your choice of consoles could be that as well, especially when consoles announce backwards compatibility. When PlayStation 3 was coming out and it's like it's going to be backwards compatible with PS2 and PS1, it's like I'm still going to have access to my huge back catalog of software that I've bought and invested in, and I won't have to hook up additional PlayStations and things like that. It's a very attractive prospect. It ends up creating a lot of inertia. And you can see the same thing with people who stay on the Mac OS, is that the Mac OS, it's not a bad OS or anything like that, but if you don't like the hardware that they're putting out, or you feel like it's too expensive, or maybe you don't like the way Mac OS starts to work, which was one of my complaints. I used to use Mac OS many years ago at this point, but the operating system just kept getting worse and worse, so I checked out and went to Windows. And that inertia for me was I'm going to lose all of the software that I normally use. I'm going to have to buy new software, and that's part of the switch. So it becomes expensive for consumers to change what they're doing in the 21st century, to change what hardware they're using, to change what software they're using, what platform they buy games from. I know it's real tempting to keep buying games from Steam because I have already bought a bunch of games on Steam. To switch to some other storefront becomes annoying. I don't even like to deal with the Origin store. Like Origin was the EA's store, and I could get free games on the Origin store. I don't even want to open up the application because it's just one more thing to clog up space on my computer and clog up space in my mind. I just didn't want to deal with it. So the inertia is a big reason why people would just stop buying ebooks rather than switch to a competitor, because they will just scale down what they're doing. They'll just buy fewer ebooks rather than lose all of their investment, as they understand it, in their ebooks, and will just stay with a platform that's suboptimal for them. This isn't the case with most other things, by the way. So people have no problem stopping shopping at Walmart, for example, and shopping at Target instead, because it's a physical storefront. You have to go physically to Walmart every time. The big, loss of efficiency is you don't know where everything is at the new store. But that's really not that hard to get around. You just ask someone, hey, where's this? And the person will say, it's over there. And you can get it. So you don't have this kind of inertia with most other things. Now, for corporations, they really like to lock you into a platform because of that inertia. Once they get you locked in, why don't people cancel their Netflix accounts? Oh, I don't want to lose all of these series that I've been watching, all of these sorts of things. So once they get you locked into buying something, once they get you used to buying something, the idea of taking that away is enough for most people to just keep paying money because of the inertia involved. But you don't get that with, say, Walmart or like Taco Bell, because you have to go to Taco Bell every time you want Taco Bell. There's not going to be that much of an inertia to overcome to go to a different restaurant. You just go to a different place instead of Taco Bell. It's really, really easy. So I think that's something that we need to watch out for as consumers, is anything that gets you, and they used to do it with phone plans, right? There's like, if you leave, you're going to lose your phone number. Well, that's something that people don't want to deal with. So they'll just pay more and have lousier phone service instead of switching phone plans. That used to be a thing too. So watch out for any of these platforms that really try to get you locked in and keep you there, so that there's some kind of significant expense to abandoning the platform. So when you leave the iOS platform, it's like you don't have access to all the software you bought. When you leave a platform, you don't have access to the books that you bought if you're buying a lot of books on the Kindle platform. Likewise, as an author, to go to other platforms, Amazon also will change what kind of royalties. You can't do Kindle Unlimited and publish your book somewhere else. It has to be an Amazon exclusive in order to collect that Kindle Unlimited money and to have those free promotions. So it's easier to just keep your book in Kindle Unlimited than to take the risk of taking it out, putting it on other platforms, trying to hustle to get people to buy the book. It's easier to just keep going with the system, even though the system's going down, down, down. So that's what I think about that. Leave me your thoughts down below. What kind of things would make you abandon the Amazon platform? If you can even think one more, if you could tell me what would make you just stop using Amazon in total, because they sell everything at this point. I buy all kinds of crap from Amazon. So what would make you stop using Amazon and start going to other storefronts to get your stuff? Is there what's the inertia keeping you there, and how do you overcome that inertia? What would be like the line in the sand, my headphone jack on my phone, so to speak? And I will say, as far as headphone jacks on phones go, if there's no smartphones with headphone jacks, I will stop using smartphones. I'm not that attached to using a smartphone. It's not a big, huge positive in my life. Really, the big advantage is I'm able to respond to emails or respond to messages on my mobile device in the morning without having to go to my computer. But that's not a huge deal for me. I prefer to wait and do things at the computer anyway. So let me know what you think down below, and I will see you guys next time. Don't forget Keys to Prolific Creativity, my new book on maximizing your creative potential as far as output goes, will come out on March 27th. So please do pre-order that for $2.99 US. That's for the ebook, and the physical edition will be coming out shortly before that as well. I'll see you guys next time.